It's just taking up space, my stepsister Amanda said, examining her perfectly manicured nails. Besides, Dad agreed it was time to modernize the house. No one needs dusty old boxes cluttering up the attic. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 32, I was standing in my childhood home's attic, staring at the empty corner where my mother's memory box had sat for the past 8 years since her passing. The box contained everything from her: photos, letters, her favorite scarf that still held her perfume, and most importantly, her final letter to me. "That wasn't your decision to make," I said quietly, my hands trembling slightly. "Those were Mom's things, her memories." "Your mom's things," my stepbrother Jake corrected, leaning against the doorframe. "We're making room for Dad and Mom's stuff now. Time to move on, Liv. Move on." Like it was that simple. Like my mother's existence can be erased as easily as tossing a box into a dumpster. My stepfather Mark had married Diane 2 years after Mom died, bringing her 2 children, Amanda and Jake, into our home. They'd spent the last 6 years systematically removing every trace of my mother, replacing family photos with their own, repainting her favorite yellow kitchen a stark white, and now this. "When?" I asked, still maintaining my composure. "When did you throw it out?" "Yesterday," Amanda replied, checking her phone. "The garbage truck came this morning." "Don't be so dramatic, Olivia. It's not like you looked at that stuff anyway." But I had. Every Sunday morning, I'd climb up to the attic, sit cross-legged next to that box, and read Mom's letters. Sometimes I'd wrap her scarf around my shoulders, close my eyes, and pretend she was hugging me. They hadn't just thrown away objects, they'd thrown away my weekly ritual, my connection to her. "Dad said it was fine," Jake added, as if that made everything okay. "He's been talking about converting the attic into a home gym anyway." My stepfather Mark, the man who promised Mom he'd take care of me, who'd sworn to keep her memory alive. Now he was allowing his real family to erase every trace of her existence. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the box they'd so carelessly tossed away wasn't the only thing Mom had left behind. A week before she died, Mom had taken me aside during one of her better days at the hospital. "Olivia, honey," she whispered, her voice weak but her eyes sharp. "Remember what I taught you about keeping things safe? About having a backup plan?" I'd nodded, holding her frail hand. Mom had always been clever about protecting what mattered. As an antique appraiser, she'd learned the value of preservation, of keeping precious things secure. "The memory box in the attic," she continued, "that's just for show, sweetheart. The real treasures, well, you know where to find those. When the time comes, you'll know what to do with them." Standing in the attic now, looking at Amanda's smug face and Jake's indifferent expression, I realized that time had come. Mom had known, somehow she'd known, that her things wouldn't be safe in this house forever. "You're right," I said finally, watching confusion flicker across their faces at my calm acceptance. "Maybe it is time to move on." As I walked down the attic stairs, leaving my step-family exchanging puzzled looks, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd memorized years ago. "Mr. Harrison, this is Olivia Parker. I think it's time to open my mother's safety deposit box." The First National Bank's marble floors echoed under my heels as Mr. Harrison led me to the safety deposit vault. He hadn't changed much in 8 years, same silver hair, same kind eyes that had watched me grow up visiting the bank with Mom. "Your mother was a remarkable woman," he said, unlocking the vault door. "She knew exactly what she was doing when she set this up." Inside the safety deposit box, I found what Mom had truly wanted to preserve. The memory box in the attic had been a decoy, filled with replicas and copies. Here, in this climate-controlled vault, lay the originals: her great-grandmother's handwritten cookbook with authentic Victorian recipes, photographs dating back 4 generations, and most importantly, legal documents. But what caught my eye was a sealed envelope with "Open when they try to erase me" written in Mom's elegant handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. "My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, they've finally done what I feared. Try to remove me from our home. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I'm not surprised." Mark always had a weak spine when it came to standing up to new love interests. What they don't know is that the house they're so eagerly modernizing isn't theirs to change. When your father died, I used his life insurance to pay off the mortgage completely. The house is in a trust, with you as the sole beneficiary when you turn 33. Mark has only been living there as a trustee. I've enclosed all the documentation, including the trust papers and the original deed. Mr. Harrison has been keeping them safe, along with something else you might find interesting. Mark never signed the final adoption papers for his new wife's children. He promised he would, but he kept putting it off. Legally, they have no claim to our family home. Be brave, my darling. Sometimes the quietest revenge is the sweetest. Love, Mom. I looked up at Mr. Harrison, who was smiling knowingly. 3 months, he said. That's when you turn 33, isn't it? I nodded, carefully placing the documents in my briefcase. They won't expect it, I said quietly. They think they've won. Your mother knew this day would come, he replied. She told me to remind you about the garden shed key when the time was right. The garden shed. Of course. Mom's private sanctuary, the one place Mark and his family never bothered to check because it was too dirty for them. I continued maintaining it over the years, keeping her roses alive, pretending to store old tools there. That afternoon, I drove home and headed straight to the shed. Behind the rusty lawnmower, under a loose floorboard, I found another box. This one contained USB drives, dozens of them, each labeled meticulously. Mark's promises to Catherine, house payments, legal discussions about adoption. Mom had recorded everything. I plugged the first drive into my laptop. There was Mark, 8 years younger, sitting by Mom's hospital bed. I'll never let anyone forget you, Catherine. This will always be your home, your family's legacy, I promise. Another video, Mark discussing the house with Mom's lawyer, acknowledging it would pass to me at 33, agreeing to be merely a custodian of the property until then. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Dad's ordering a dumpster for tomorrow. Time to clear out that shabby shed of yours. I smiled, typing back. Perfect timing. I was just going through some old family videos. Want to watch them together. There's one of Dad making some interesting promises you might want to see. The response was immediate. What videos? Oh, just some things Mom kept. She was always good at preserving important moments. By the way, how's the attic gym planning going? My phone remained silent after that. I could imagine the panic starting to set in, the realization that perhaps they'd acted too hastily in throwing away what they assumed was my only connection to Mom. Standing in the shed, surrounded by the evidence of my mother's foresight, I felt a deep sense of peace. Mom hadn't just left me memories, she'd left me the means to protect our home, our history, and her legacy. In 3 months, I would inherit everything legally, but for now, I had something just as valuable. The knowledge that justice was coming served exactly the way Mom would have wanted it, carefully planned, perfectly documented, and completely irreversible. I picked up my phone one more time, sending a message to Mr. Harrison. Time to prepare the paperwork. Mom would want everything done properly. His response made me smile. Your mother would be proud. She always said you had her patience, and her spine. The next 3 months passed like a carefully choreographed dance. I watched as my stepfamily grew increasingly nervous, especially after I casually mentioned during dinner that I'd been digitizing some of Mom's old recordings for preservation. Mark nearly choked on his wine. Recordings? Oh yes, I said, cutting my food with deliberate precision. Mom was quite thorough about documenting important conversations. Must be why she was such a successful antique appraiser, always verifying authenticity. The tension in the house became palpable. Amanda and Jake stopped their smug comments about clearing out my junk. Instead, they watched me warily, especially when I spent time in the garden shed, which they now avoided like the plague. 1 week before my 33rd birthday, Diane, my stepfather's wife, cornered me in the kitchen. Look, Olivia, she started, her voice sickly sweet. Perhaps we've been a bit hasty with some changes. We could help you look for some of your mother's things in storage. The memory box you threw away? I kept my tone light. Don't worry about it. As Mom always said, the real treasures are the ones you keep safe. Her face paled slightly. What exactly does that mean? You'll find out soon enough. The day of my 33rd birthday arrived bright and clear. I'd arranged for Mr. Harrison to come to the house, bringing all the necessary paperwork. When the doorbell rang at exactly 10 a.m., Mark answered it, his face dropping at the sight of the lawyer. Family meeting, I announced, setting up my laptop on the dining room table. There's something we need to discuss. They gathered reluctantly, Mark, Diane, Amanda, and Jake. all wearing expressions ranging from confusion to outright fear. First, I began, "Let's watch a short video." I pressed play, and Mom's face appeared on the screen, healthy and strong, recorded years before her illness. She was sitting in her office, holding up documents to the camera. "This is the deed to our house, fully paid off," Mom's voice rang clear. "And this is the trust agreement, stating that everything passes to my daughter Olivia on her 33rd birthday. Mark, you're agreeing to be a trustee only, correct?" The video showed Mark nodding emphatically. "Of course, Catherine. I'll make sure everything goes to Olivia when the time comes." I paused the video, turning to my stunned audience. "There's more, but I think you get the idea." Mr. Harrison stepped forward, placing a thick folder on the table. "As of today, the house and all associated property legally belong to Olivia. The trust terms are quite clear." But we live here," Amanda sputtered. "We're family." "Actually," I said softly, "legally, you're not." Mom kept copies of those unsigned adoption papers too. Interesting how they never quite made it to the courthouse. Mark slumped in his chair, the fight draining from his face. "Catherine, she planned all this?" "She knew you tried to erase her," I replied. "So she made sure I could protect what mattered most." I pulled out a stack of papers from my briefcase. "These are your eviction notices. You have 30 days to find new accommodation. Don't worry about the attic gym equipment. I'll have it donated to the local community center." "You can't do this," Diane protested. "Where will we go?" "That's not my concern," I said, standing up. "Just like my mother's memories weren't your concern when you threw them away. Karma, as they say, comes full circle." As they sat there, shell-shocked, I walked to the kitchen, Mom's kitchen, and pulled out her yellow paint swatches from my bag. "Oh, and I'll be repainting next week. Restoring things to their original glory, you might say." Over the next month, I watched as they packed and moved out, taking with them the modern furniture and stark decorations they'd used to cover up Mom's touches. With each box they removed, the house seemed to breathe easier. The day after they left, I climbed up to the attic, now empty of their exercise equipment. In the corner where Mom's memory box had once sat, I placed a new box, filled with the real photos, letters, and mementos from the safety deposit box. Her scarf, the original one preserved in climate-controlled storage, still carried a hint of her perfume. I wrapped it around my shoulders and smiled, pulling out my phone to text Mr. Harrison. "It's done. The house is back in the right hands." His response came quickly. "Your mother would be proud. She always said the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with perfect documentation." Sitting there in the attic, surrounded by the restored memories of my mother, I felt at peace. Sometimes justice doesn't come in grand gestures or loud confrontations. Sometimes it comes quietly, carefully planned, and perfectly executed, just like Mom would have wanted. The next morning, I hung Mom's favorite painting back in the living room, a watercolor of our garden in full bloom. As I stepped back to admire it, I could almost hear her laugh, could almost feel her presence in the house again. Her memory wasn't just preserved in boxes and documents, it was alive in every corner of the home she protected for me, waiting for the right moment to remind everyone that some legacies can't be erased.